Hey, you. I'm in a VIP suite at the hospital, so get over here with the money. Now. Hurry up. Hey, I said I'm in the VIP suite, so you better fly over here and pay the bill. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. A voice, sharp enough to pierce eardrums, echoed from the other end of the line. 15 years. For an unbelievable 15 years, she had held her breath, living under the weight of that nagging, venomous voice. But today, instead of bowing her head and muttering her usual, "I'm so sorry," Abigail twisted her lips into a smirk and asked coldly, "I'm sorry. Who is this? You must have the wrong number." "What? Have you lost your mind? It's Brenda, Kevin's mother." Cutting off the woman's shrieking tantrum without a second thought, Abigail calmly ended the call and powered off her phone. Just 5 days had passed since she had filed for divorce. They had no idea that they were now less than strangers to her, still deluded into thinking she was their personal ATM. But they couldn't possibly have imagined it. They couldn't have imagined who the true owner of the hospital was, the person who was about to walk through the door of their top-floor, luxury VIP suite. Before we begin the episode, please subscribe and like the channel. May happiness find you all. Let's start today's story. It was the afternoon of the 5th day since Abigail had filed the divorce papers at the courthouse. She was in the living room of her new apartment, unpacking boxes, when she glanced down at the cell phone on the table. The screen displayed an incoming call from Brenda. Abigail stared at it for a long moment before slowly swiping to answer. "Hey, where the hell are you? What took you so long to answer my call?" Brenda's booming voice exploded through the speaker. "Do you have any idea where I am? I'm at Grant Memorial Hospital. That huge, expensive Grant Memorial." Abigail said nothing. "I'm in the VIP presidential suite, you hear me? Suite 702, the best and most luxurious one they have. Got it?" Brenda's voice grew even louder. "So stop dawdling and get your ass over here with the money. Come here right now and pay for everything. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Abigail let out a short, derisive laugh and held the phone slightly away from her ear. "Do you think this is $1 or $2? It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands. The initial deposit they need right now is $100,000. Hey, are you listening to me? Are you deaf? Answer me this instant." Brenda screamed. "I feel like I'm dying. My whole body is in agony. And my so-called daughter-in-law can't even be bothered to show her face? This room alone costs over $10,000 a day. With all the tests and treatments, the total will be in the hundreds of thousands. So shut up and get over here and pay." Abigail's voice was like ice when she finally spoke. "Who is this? Huh? What did you just say?" Brenda's voice hitched. "You have the wrong number. I'm asking who is calling." Abigail's tone was frigid. "Oh, has this bitch lost her mind? Did you just ask me who I am? Are you trying to be funny with your sainted mother-in-law? Do you really not know who I am? It's Brenda. Your mother-in-law, Brenda. I don't know anyone by that name. I'm hanging up now. You've really gone crazy, haven't you? You've completely lost it." Brenda's voice trembled with rage. Abigail immediately pressed the end call button. As the screen went dark, she held the power button down and shut the phone off completely. Placing it on the table, she opened a drawer. From inside, she took out the paid-in-full receipt for her daughter Lily's tuition at a prestigious private high school. Next to it was the lease agreement for her new apartment. She carefully placed both documents into her handbag. At that moment, in the luxury VIP suite, 702 of Grant Memorial Hospital, Brenda hurled her cell phone at the floor. Damn it. How dare she? How dare she hang up on her own mother-in-law? The phone shattered on the marble floor with a loud crack. Brenda glared at the private nurse standing beside her. Did you see that? That horrible woman hung up on me. The nerve of a wife, hanging up on her husband's mother." The nurse spoke tentatively. "Ma'am, oh dear, please try to calm down. You'll make yourself sick. Your blood pressure. Calm down? You're telling me to calm down right now? Do I look like I can calm down?" Brenda shrieked. To think a little gutter snipe I picked up from nowhere has the audacity to ask her mother-in-law, "Who is this?" "Ma'am, please, for your own good, just try to breathe," the nurse pleaded. Brenda grabbed a glass of water from the bedside table. She should be crawling on her hands and knees to this hospital right now, begging for my forgiveness at my feet. How dare she ignore me? Brenda threw the glass in the nurse's direction. The nurse jumped back with a yelp. The glass shattered on the floor, water splashing everywhere. She's an orphan with no parents. Do you have any idea how I fed and clothed her for 15 years? The ungrateful witch. After everything I've done for her. Kevin, who had been lounging on the sofa, spoke up in an irritated tone. Mom, seriously, why are you screaming so loud? My ears are killing me. It's so noisy I can't concentrate on my game. Can you keep it down? He continued, tapping at his smartphone, a mobile golf game displayed on the screen. Hey, Kevin, is this really the time for you to be playing that stupid game? Brenda yelled at him. Your wife is treating your own sainted mother with such disrespect, and you're just going to sit there and say nothing? Aren't you going to do something about it? Well, maybe if you didn't bully her and give her hell every single day, she wouldn't have run off, Kevin replied without looking up from his game. You should have taken it easy. Seriously. What? What did I do? You think I was too harsh? Hey, you ungrateful brat. After I worked so hard to raise you, now you're blaming your own mother? Brenda's voice escalated. But still, that's no way to treat her mother-in-law. She has no right to speak to you like that. You know she has no manners. So why are you just lying there? Call that woman right now. Get her over here in front of me. I'll deal with her when we get home. It's such a pain. Why do you keep insisting she has to come here right now? Kevin sighed. Because we need the money for the hospital bill, you idiot. If we don't pay the $100,000 deposit today, they're going to kick us out. Brenda pounded the bed with her fists. A notification popped up on Kevin's phone screen. Loan payment overdue. Contact us immediately. It was a text from a loan shark. Kevin swiped the notification away and went back to his game. The door to the suite opened. A staff member from the finance department entered with a clipboard. He bowed his head politely. Ma'am, the $100,000 deposit for the VIP suite has still not been received. Do you know when we can expect payment? Brenda, leaning back against the pillows, waved a dismissive hand. Oh, don't be in such a rush just because you think we're poor. Just wait a little while. Our rich daughter-in-law will be here with the money any minute now. However, hospital policy requires unconditional prepayment on the first day of admission. We cannot delay this any longer, the staffer said with a troubled expression. My God, this guy is so inflexible. Didn't I just tell you to wait a little longer? Brenda yelled. My daughter-in-law is on her way home to get the cash right now. She said she'd be here, out of breath, in an hour at most. I'm very sorry, ma'am, but it has already been 3 hours since your admission. We cannot wait any longer, the staffer said, holding out a document. If the $100,000 deposit is not paid immediately, we will have no choice but to begin discharge procedures. Discharge? Are you telling me you're going to kick me out of this room? Did you just tell me to leave? Brenda shot up in bed. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm a VIP at Grant Memorial. Do you know how much money I've spent at this hospital over the years? How dare you tell me to get out? I apologize, ma'am, but hospital regulations apply equally to all patients. There are no exceptions, the staffer replied calmly. Kevin got up from the sofa and approached the staffer. He stopped playing his game and roughly shoved the man. Hey, you're really dense, aren't you? Didn't you hear her? My wife is on her way with the money. Are you deaf? When we tell you to wait, you wait. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? The staffer stumbled backward. Sir, please, that's enough. Please refrain from physical contact. What? Physical contact? Ha! That's ridiculous. When did I hit you? I just gave you a little push to get you to back off. Why are you being so dramatic? Kevin shoved the staffer again. If you continue, I will have to call security. Hospital policy is hospital policy. I will give you 1 more hour. If the $100,000 is not deposited within 1 hour, you will be forcibly discharged. Ugh, you're annoying. Just get out of here. We'll call you when Abigail gets here with the money. So stop your whining and scram, Kevin said, pushing the staffer toward the door. That's right. Get out. I'll personally call your boss in the finance department and have you fired. You'll see, you little punk, Brenda yelled after him. The staffer reluctantly left the room. Just a lowly hospital clerk, acting so high and mighty, Kevin muttered with a click of his tongue. He'll be bowing and scraping the second Abigail shows up and shoves a stack of cash in his face. Once the door was closed, Kevin anxiously dialed Abigail's number again. "The number you have called is not in service." Only a mechanical voice answered. What the hell? Has she completely lost it? How dare she ignore her husband's call and turn off her phone? That's weird. She usually answers before the first ring. What's gotten into her? Kevin glared at his phone. Well, what are you waiting for? Keep trying. Don't tell me that woman took the money and ran. What is going on? Call her again, Brenda shouted. I told you, she's not picking up. The phone is completely disconnected now, Kevin answered, exasperated. That woman. I swear, I could be dying and she wouldn't care. Where is she? What is she doing? This is so frustrating. What? Disconnected? Has she completely lost her mind? Then call the landline at home. Hurry. We got rid of the landline ages ago, remember? When we moved, you said it was a waste of money. Ugh, you're useless. Then call all her friends. Find out where she's hiding right now. Brenda waved her hands frantically. What friends? You know as well as I do, Abigail works all day to make money. She doesn't have a single friend, Kevin said, collapsing back onto the sofa. Then call the diner where she works. The manager there would know something. She quit that kitchen job months ago. She said it was too hard on her body. Then what about the call center for that rideshare service she drove for at night? She stopped doing that a long time ago, too. This is driving me crazy. Where on earth did she disappear to? Brenda flopped back onto the luxurious bed and started mashing the nurse call button. 1, 2, 3 times. She hit it repeatedly. She then grabbed a dining menu from the bedside table and threw it. It clattered to the floor, pages scattering. Even if that woman runs, she can't get far. It's all just an act. In a little while, she'll come crawling back on her own, hand over all the money, and get on her knees to apologize. You'll see, Brenda muttered to herself. Yeah, you're right, Mom. How could Abigail possibly survive without me? It's $100,000, not a small amount. It's probably just taking her a while to beg and borrow it from people. There's no way she's not coming. Kevin lay back down on the sofa and opened the calculator app on his phone. He started punching in numbers, trying to calculate how long it would take Abigail to get the money. It's not $100, it's $100,000. It'll take her at least an hour to go around begging for it. No, maybe 2 hours. If she doesn't hurry up, I'm going to get tired of waiting. No matter how late she is, she'd better be back before dinner. If she's not, I'll break her legs, Brenda said, staring at the ceiling. Speaking of which, I heard the VIP special menu here is amazing. As soon as that woman gets here with the money, I'm ordering. Should I get the lobster or the big steak? Mom, don't even look at the menu yet. Let's wait until Abigail gets here and pays. Then we can think about it. Fine, but I'm starving. The second she arrives, order for me, Kevin replied, his eyes glued to his game. All right. I'll wring that 100,000 out of that stingy witch, and then we'll stuff our faces. Meanwhile, in the back seat of a black sedan parked in a quiet cafe lot, Abigail placed her handbag on her lap. She unlatched it. With a soft click, it opened. She took out a thick leather binder and spread it across her knees. Inside the binder were several documents. On top was a deed of transfer for majority shares of the Grant Foundation. Beneath it was the original copy of the last will and testament of her grandfather, William Grant, the chairman of the Grant Corporation, bearing his distinct, official seal. Abigail traced the date on the transfer deed with her finger. She checked the condition of each seal, one by one. Everything was perfect. She spoke to the man in the driver's seat. Driver, please take me directly to the private entrance of the VIP pavilion at Grant Memorial, not the main building. The driver met her gaze in the rearview mirror and replied, Yes, ma'am. Understood, chairwoman. We'll depart immediately. The driver started the engine, and the car pulled smoothly away from the curb. Abigail reached into her bag and took out the nameplate for the chairwoman of the foundation. She pulled a handkerchief from her pocket and carefully polished it. Abigail Grant, chairwoman, the Grant Foundation. The engraved letters gleamed in the sunlight. Abigail placed the nameplate back in her bag. Through the car window, the towering structure of Grant Memorial Hospital grew closer and closer. Abigail closed the binder and latched her bag. Her gaze was cold and resolute. Kevin, unable to reach Abigail's disconnected phone, started searching through his contacts. Where was that number for Abigail's friend? He muttered, scrolling quickly. He found a few numbers of people he'd seen her talk to in the past and started dialing. He called the first number. "The user you are calling is not accepting calls from you." A mechanical voice. "What? Blocked?" Kevin scowled. He called the second number. "The user you are calling is not accepting calls from you." The same message. "This one too?" Kevin dialed the third and fourth numbers. Each one went to the same automated rejection. "What is wrong with everyone? Did they all block my number?" He snarled, glaring at his phone. "How's it going? Did you find her?" Brenda yelled from the bed. "No one's answering their damn phones," Kevin snapped back. "They're not answering? Then send them a text." "What if they blocked my texts too?" "Just try it." "Hurry up." Brenda waved her hand dismissively. Just as Kevin was pacing the hospital corridor, about to type a text, a notification came through on his phone. It was an email from his mistress. "Hey, the credit card company just called. They said the payment for that designer bag I bought was declined." Kevin's hands froze. A second email arrived immediately after. "And the department store card you used was maxed out. You need to fix this." He gripped his phone tightly. A third email appeared. "Also, the hotel reservation we had for this weekend was canceled. What's going on with the money?" Kevin gritted his teeth and typed a reply. "Just wait a bit. I'll take care of it soon." After sending the reply, he walked to the end of the hall, pushed open the door to the fire escape, and stepped inside. The stairwell was silent. Kevin pulled a cigarette from his pocket and lit it. Smoke curled slowly into the air. "Damn it. Of all the times to need money this badly," he muttered to himself. "What the hell is Abigail doing? Not answering her phone." He took a long drag from the cigarette. Inside the suite, Brenda was rummaging through the bedside table. She pulled out a glossy brochure, the menu for a high-end restaurant's tasting course. "Ooh, this looks delicious. French cuisine," she murmured, unfolding it. A nurse came in to check her IV drip. As soon as Brenda saw her, she thrust the brochure at her. "Hey, you! Order this for me right now." The nurse looked at the brochure with a troubled expression. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but hospital regulations prohibit outside food and beverages." "What? Prohibit? I'm paying for it, so what's the problem?" Brenda's voice rose. "The rules are the same, even for the VIP suites. It's for the patient's health and safety." "My health? What I eat is my business," Brenda shouted. "You must follow the regulations, ma'am," the nurse said, bowing her head. Brenda suddenly sat up and grabbed the nurse's ID badge. "What's your name?" The nurse, startled, tried to pull back. "Let go of me, please." "Let go? Why should I?" Brenda yanked harder on the badge. The nurse's uniform was pulled forward. "Do you know who the director of this hospital is?" One phone call from me, Brenda began to spew insults. The nurse struggled to free herself. "Ma'am, please calm down." "Calm down? Why should I have to calm down?" Brenda screamed even louder. The nurse finally managed to break free and rushed out of the room. She ran down the hall to the nurse's station. "Head nurse, the patient in 702, she said, out of breath. The head nurse stood up from her computer. "What happened?" Her guardian. "He grabbed my badge and started verbally abusing me," the nurse explained, her voice trembling. The head nurse immediately picked up the internal phone. "Connect me to the legal department." A moment later, a lawyer from the department answered. "I'm reporting belligerent behavior from the patient in VIP suite 702, the head nurse said calmly. There was verbal abuse and physical intimidation toward a staff nurse. "Understood. I will report it to the risk management team immediately," the lawyer replied. A few minutes later, in the office of Grant Memorial's risk management team, the file for Brenda was on the desk of the team leader, David Miller. David opened the chart and reviewed its contents. A staff member standing beside him reported, "The patient, Brenda, was admitted this morning but has not paid the deposit." "And the guardian?" David asked. "Her son, Kevin." Looking at his past medical records, the staffer pointed to a computer screen. David moved closer. The screen showed Kevin's history at the hospital. "He has a record of destroying property in the emergency room last year," the staffer said, clicking on the relevant entry. The notes say he verbally abused a nurse and kicked over a chair. David read the screen carefully. And now he's causing trouble in the VIP pavilion. He stroked his chin. How should we proceed? The staffer asked. David picked up the internal phone. Get me the head of security. A moment later, the security chief answered. Chief, this is David Miller from Risk Management, David said calmly. Prepare for a forcible discharge from VIP Suite 702. A forcible discharge? The chief asked. Yes, a measure taken due to the belligerent and threatening behavior of the patient and her guardian, David replied. Please dispatch 6 security officers to the VIP pavilion. Understood. They'll be there immediately, the security chief confirmed. David hung up and turned to the staffer. Draft a formal complaint for interference with hospital operations. I'll start right away, the staffer said, returning to his desk. The sound of typing filled the office. David stared out the window, lost in thought. 6 months before she filed for divorce, Abigail was in the kitchen of their cramped apartment, washing dishes with rubber gloves on. As she scrubbed the mountain of plates in the sink, she stared out the window, her mind drifting back 20 years. 20 years ago, a 5-year-old Abigail emerged from her room in a massive mansion. The hallway was lined with her family elders. Abigail, get back in your room right now, her father shouted. Abigail walked down the grand staircase without a glance back. Abigail, this is all for your future, her mother cried, clinging to the banister. What's wrong with a strategic marriage? The family is respectable. They have immense wealth. Abigail reached the front door. Her grandfather, William Grant, the chairman of the Grant Corporation, descended the stairs, leaning on a cane. Abigail, just listen to your grandfather for a moment, the chairman said in a gentle voice. No, I will not marry a man I do not love, Abigail said, turning back at the door. Love is something that grows later. Marriage is, her father started. I am in love with someone. I want to choose my own life, Abigail said, opening the door and stepping outside. Abigail, if you walk out that door now, you will be disinherited, her father yelled. Abigail didn't stop. Abigail, don't you ever set foot in this house again, her mother's voice echoed behind her. A few days later, Abigail stood in front of a rundown apartment building. The landlord handed her a key. $1,000 security deposit, $800 a month for rent. The bathroom is communal, he gestured inside. Abigail entered the small studio. It was just one tiny room and a cramped kitchenette. I'll take it, Abigail nodded. I need to see your ID to file the paperwork, the landlord said, holding out his hand. Abigail took her driver's license from her bag. I'll need a copy of your birth certificate, too. You got one? I'm an orphan. I don't have anyone, Abigail lied. Oh, I see. In that case, the ID is fine, the landlord nodded. A few months later, Abigail was working part-time at a small coffee shop. The bell on the door jingled, and Kevin walked in. Welcome, Abigail greeted him. One Americano, please, Kevin said, leaning on the counter. Hot or iced? Hot, he said, his eyes fixed on her. Abigail made the coffee. Here you are. Do you have any plans after your shift? Kevin asked. Why? I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner with me, he said with a smile. 6 months after that, Kevin was in Abigail's apartment, holding a marriage license. Abigail, let's get married, he said, spreading the paper on the table. But I don't have a family or any money, Abigail said cautiously. So what? That doesn't matter to me, Kevin said, taking her hand. Really? Abigail looked at him. Really, I'll even write it down for you. Kevin grabbed a piece of paper and a pen. He wrote, I, Kevin, promise to never hold Abigail's poor background against her. He signed it and handed it to her. There. Now do you believe me? He grinned. Abigail took the note. Thank you, she smiled faintly. So, sign here, Kevin said, pointing to the marriage license. Abigail signed, and Kevin signed after her. Shortly after they were married, Abigail was sitting in the living room of their new, small condo. Kevin was lounging on the sofa, not at work. Aren't you going to the office? Abigail asked. Nah, took a personal day, Kevin said, clicking the TV remote. Oh, are we going somewhere? Just gonna rest at home. I've been so tired lately, he said, changing the channel. A few days later, Kevin was still on the sofa. What about work? Abigail asked again. I quit, he answered nonchalantly. What? You quit? She asked, shocked. Yeah. Filed my resignation. I didn't like that company anyway, he said, munching on potato chips. Well, you need to find another job. Later, I'm gonna take a break for a while, he said, changing the channel again. What are we going to do for living expenses? Abigail asked carefully. You can earn it. You're working at that coffee shop, right? He said matter-of-factly. That's not enough to live on. Then get another job. Drive for a ride-share service or something, he said, his eyes never leaving the TV. A few months later, Brenda moved into the condo. Brenda, what are you doing here? Abigail asked, bewildered. I'm living here now, with my son, Brenda said, dropping her luggage in the living room. But the place is so small, Abigail said. Small? So what? We're family, Brenda said, plopping down on the sofa. Get me some water, she gestured with her chin. Abigail went to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. Here you go. Why is this glass so cheap-looking? Don't you own any decent glasses? Brenda scowled. From then on, Abigail worked as a kitchen assistant at a diner by day and a rideshare driver by night. She would come home at 2 a.m., exhausted. She checked her bank account and saw her direct deposits. She began saving a little bit of money from each paycheck. A few months later, Brenda came home from a shopping spree at a high-end department store, her arms full of designer shopping bags. Brenda, what is all this? Abigail asked, astonished. I bought it. What's it to you? Brenda said, dumping the bags on the sofa. Where did you get the money? Abigail couldn't finish her sentence. I bought it with the money you earned. You got a problem with that? Brenda glared at her. Months after that, someone started pounding on their front door. Pay up! A man's voice yelled from outside. Brenda, Kevin, get out here! The pounding grew louder. Kevin locked himself in his room. Brenda locked herself in the bathroom. Abigail had to open the front door alone. Can I help you? She asked. Loan sharks. Brenda owes us $200,000. Pay up, a large man said, shoving Abigail aside. I'll pay it back. $10,000 a month, Abigail said, her voice trembling. $10,000 a month? The interest alone is more than that, the man yelled. But I promise I'll pay it back. I'll sign a promissory note, Abigail said, getting a pen and paper. With shaking hands, she wrote out a payment agreement. The men took the note and spray-painted the front door red. You know what happens if you miss a payment? One of them threatened. That night, Abigail was washing dishes, wearing socks with holes in them. Brenda came into the kitchen. It's the middle of the night. Your noise is keeping me awake. Why are you doing dishes so late? She said irritably. I'm sorry, ma'am. Abigail bowed her head. It's because of you that we have to live like this. Brenda picked up a plate from the table and threw it at Abigail. Abigail dodged, and the plate shattered against the wall. You orphan! Coming into our family and bringing misery. Brenda threw another dish. In the living room, Kevin just kept changing the channels on the TV. 15 years passed. Abigail collected all the payment receipts for the debt she had paid off, filling a small file folder. She opened a separate bank account for her daughter's education fund and hid the passbook deep inside a drawer. Then, one day, Abigail was in the diner kitchen, scrubbing a large pot. The head chef called out to her. Abigail, someone's here to see you. Me? Abigail looked up. Yeah, a couple of guys in suits. They said it's urgent. The chef gestured for her to take off her apron. Abigail removed her gloves and washed her hands. When she went out to the dining area, 2 men in black suits were standing there. Are you Miss Abigail? One of them asked, holding out a business card. Abigail took it. It read, The Grant Foundation, Legal Department. Abigail's hand froze. We need you to come with us, the other man said, opening a briefcase. What is this about? Abigail asked cautiously. The chairman is in critical condition, the man said in a low voice. My grandfather? Abigail's voice trembled. The chairman has been looking for his granddaughter. We must go now, the man said, checking his watch. Abigail went back to the kitchen and took off her apron. I have a family emergency. I have to leave, she told the chef, grabbing her bag from her locker. Okay, be safe, the chef nodded. Abigail followed the lawyers outside. A black sedan was waiting. This way, please, one of them said, opening the rear door. Abigail got in. As the car pulled away, she asked, How is my grandfather? He's in very critical condition. It seems he doesn't have much time left, the lawyer answered carefully. Abigail stared out the window. She was about to see her grandfather for the first time in 20 years. 30 minutes later, the car arrived at Grant Memorial Hospital. The lawyers led Abigail not to the main entrance, but to a private elevator. Top floor. It's a secure wing, one of them said, pressing the button. When the doors opened on the top floor, the hallway was silent. A single nurse was waiting and bowed her head when she saw Abigail. "This way," she said, leading them down the hall to the last room. Inside, the chairman lay in a bed, hooked up to machines. "Grandfather," Abigail whispered, approaching the bed. The chairman slowly opened his eyes. "Abigail, you came." His voice was weak. "Grandfather, it's me," Abigail said, taking his hand. "I'm sorry. I couldn't find you for 20 years, he said, struggling to breathe. "It's okay, grandfather." Tears welled in Abigail's eyes. "I have something to give you," the chairman said, looking at the lawyer beside him. The lawyer took a thick envelope from his briefcase. "This is my will. I'm leaving my entire fortune to you," the chairman said, pressing the envelope into Abigail's hand. "Grandfather, I can't. The Grant Foundation, Grant Memorial Hospital. All the shares are yours now," he said with difficulty. "But this is what you built your entire life," Abigail said. "If my granddaughter doesn't receive it, who will?" he said, squeezing her hand tightly. "Live happily, this time." His voice grew fainter. "I will, grandfather," Abigail wept. "I love you, my granddaughter," the chairman said, his last words. After leaving the room, Abigail sat on a bench in the hallway, clutching the envelope. A lawyer sat down beside her. "The chairman began searching for his granddaughter 5 years ago," he said. "5 years? Yes. We hired private investigators, but because you were living under a different name and had hidden your identity, it was very difficult to find you," the lawyer explained. "I see." Abigail looked down at the envelope. "The will is legally ironclad. It has been fully notarized," the lawyer added. "Thank you," Abigail said, bowing her head. When she returned home, Abigail hid the envelope deep in her bag. Kevin was still on the sofa, watching TV. "Where have you been?" he asked. "I got off work early," Abigail answered curtly. "Oh, what's for dinner?" he asked, clicking the remote. "I'll make something now," she said, heading to the kitchen. A few days later, Abigail quietly visited a private investigator's office. "How can I help you?" the PI asked. "I'd like to hire you to investigate my husband," Abigail said. "What kind of information are you looking for?" The PI took out a notepad. "Proof of an affair and evidence of illegal gambling," Abigail stated calmly. "Understood. Here is our fee structure," the PI said, handing her a price list. Abigail looked at it and nodded. "This is acceptable." She signed the contract. A month later, the PI called. Abigail went to his office. The PI handed her a thick file. "Here are photos of your husband entering a motel with his mistress." He opened the file. The photos clearly showed Kevin and a young woman checking into a motel, and these are from an illegal poker game. He showed her another set of photos of Kevin holding cards at a gambling table. "We also obtained copies of the ledgers from the loan shark he borrowed money from. The documents showed Kevin's name and the amounts he owed." "Excellent work," Abigail said, taking the file. "We can obtain more evidence if needed." "This is more than enough," Abigail said, placing the file in her bag. Closing the door on her past memories, Abigail took out her cell phone in the back of the car. She found David Miller's number in her contacts and dialed. "Hello? Miller speaking," David answered. "Mr. Miller, this is Abigail." "Ah, Madam Chairwoman, to what do I owe the pleasure?" David's tone became formal. "I am sending you some documents via a secure fax," Abigail said. "What kind of documents?" "Documents proving that I am the new chairwoman of the Grant Foundation," she replied calmly. "Understood. Also, please compile a detailed breakdown of the accumulated unpaid bills for the patient in VIP Suite 702, Abigail instructed. "Suite 702? I'll check on it right away," David said, the sound of keyboard clicks coming through the phone, "and gather all evidence of their violent and disruptive behavior within the hospital. I'll prepare the security camera footage and written statements from the staff. Send everything to my email within the hour, Abigail said. It will be done, Madam Chairwoman, David replied. Abigail ended the call. She took a tube of lipstick from her purse and applied it, looking in a compact mirror. Through the car window, the private entrance to the VIP pavilion of Grant Memorial was now visible. As the car slowed to a stop, Abigail put the lipstick away and sat up straight. Her gaze was sharp. We've arrived, Madam Chairwoman, the driver said. Thank you. You've been a great help, Abigail said as she stepped out of the car. Lined up in front of the VIP entrance was the hospital's executive board. As Abigail approached, they all bowed their heads in unison. Abigail walked confidently toward the entrance. Meanwhile, in the hallway of the VIP pavilion, chaos had erupted. Kevin was blocking the nurse's station. If you don't take care of our hospital bill right now, you'll regret it, he yelled. He swiped a stack of patient charts off the counter with one hand. They scattered across the floor. A nurse jumped up from her chair. Sir, please calm down. Calm down? Why should I calm down? Kevin slammed his palm on the desk. A nurse bent down to pick up the scattered charts, and Kevin stomped on them with his shoe. What are you doing? Please move, she cried. Move? What do you mean, move? He sneered, pointing a finger at her. Brenda emerged from the suite, dragging her IV stand with her. Hey, you nurse, she shrieked. How dare you speak to my son with that tone? She violently shoved the IV stand, and it crashed to the floor with a loud metallic clang. Other patients and their families in the hallway turned in shock. What on earth is going on? One of them whispered. Those people have been causing a scene all afternoon. Another replied, shaking their head. Just then, a team of security guards appeared at the end of the hall. 6 uniformed officers marched in formation, surrounding Kevin and Brenda in a semicircle. What's the problem here? The lead guard asked. What's the problem? You're asking me what the problem is? Kevin sneered. The problem is the way this hospital is treating us, Brenda yelled. Kevin reached out to grab the guard's uniform. At that moment, David Miller, in a sharp suit, stepped through the line of guards. He held up a clear file folder right in front of Kevin's face. Inside were a formal complaint and an itemized bill. What is this? Kevin glared at the papers. It's a formal complaint for interference with hospital operations, David said coolly. What? A complaint? Brenda shrieked. Behind David, a member of the legal team raised a small video camera. A red light blinked on as he began recording Brenda and Kevin. Are you filming me? Brenda backed away. We're gathering evidence, David replied. Kevin pulled his phone from his pocket and put it on speaker. He dialed Abigail's number. Hey, get over here right now, he bellowed. The number you have called is not in service. The announcement echoed down the hall. What? Kevin pressed the phone to his ear. Is not in service, the voice repeated. The surrounding nurses and family members covered their mouths. That's weird. A minute ago it just said the power was off, Kevin muttered, jamming the phone back in his pocket. At that very moment, the doors to the private VIP elevator at the end of the hall slid open. Abigail stepped out, followed by the hospital's vice president and board members. She walked down the center of the marble hallway, the sound of her heels clicking with authority. David and the security guards parted, creating a path for her. They all bowed their heads. Kevin, who had been staring at the toppled IV stand, looked up. Brenda looked up too. Abigail was walking directly toward them. That's her, Brenda stammered. Abigail? Kevin blinked. The elevator doors closed. Abigail walked with perfect posture, stopping about a yard in front of them. Brenda's eyes scanned Abigail's custom-tailored suit, then the line of hospital executives standing behind her. Abigail! Kevin took a step forward, reaching out. What is all this? A security guard firmly seized Kevin's arm. Ugh! Kevin's knees buckled, and he fell to his knees on the floor. Hey, what are you doing? Brenda screamed. Abigail ignored them completely. She turned to David and gestured to the documents in his hand. David stepped forward and unfolded the paper. I will now read the order of forcible discharge for patient Brenda, David announced in a loud voice. Forcible discharge? Brenda shrieked. The patient, Brenda, and her guardian, Kevin, have violated hospital regulations and have engaged in verbal abuse and physical intimidation of staff members, David read. Therefore, by the order of the chairwoman of the Grant Foundation, Abigail Grant, they are to be immediately and forcibly discharged. Chairwoman, Abigail? The strength drained from Brenda's legs. She collapsed onto the marble floor. Impossible. There's no way Abigail is the chairwoman. Kevin struggled against the guards holding him down. An orphan like Abigail could never be the chairwoman. He spat on the floor. It's all a lie. A lie! He screamed. Abigail took the briefcase her driver handed her. She opened it and took out several photos, pictures of Kevin checking into a motel with a young woman. She then took out another document, a copy of his IOU from the illegal poker game, his signature clearly visible. Abigail scattered the photos and papers on the floor in front of Kevin. How did you? Kevin's jaw dropped as he saw the photos. Those documents were filed with the family court several days ago, Abigail said, coldly. As evidence in our divorce proceedings, Kevin stared at the pictures of himself. He couldn't speak, couldn't resist. His gaze fell to the floor. Abigail signaled to David. He approached Brenda with a tablet computer and held the screen in front of her face. This is the repair estimate for the hospital property you damaged, David explained. The amount was displayed in large numbers, $270,000. The IV stand, patient charts, water glass, dining menu. These are the costs for repair and replacement, David listed. In addition, there is a $30,000 claim for damages for the assault on our nursing staff. The total is $300,000. 300,000? Brenda's voice trembled. Abigail turned to a staff member from the finance department. If this is not paid by midnight tonight, place an immediate lien on the deed to Kevin's condo, she ordered. Understood, Madam Chairwoman, the staffer replied, bowing. And proceed with filing criminal charges. Yes, I will process it immediately, the staffer said, making a note on his own tablet. At Abigail's command, the security guards moved. Two of them grabbed Brenda's arms. Let go! Let me go! She screamed as they pulled her to her feet. Do you know who I am? She thrashed. They began to drag her toward the fire escape. Abigail! Abigail! Brenda screamed at her back. I raised you for 15 years! Her voice echoed down the hall. Abigail never looked back. Two other guards hauled Kevin up by his arms. Abigail, let's just talk, he begged. I was wrong, okay? Let's start over. His voice cracked. Think about Lily, he shouted. Abigail's gaze turned glacial. Do not speak my daughter's name, she said, speaking to him for the first time. The man who stole money for his own daughter's school tuition has no right. Her voice was low and cold. Kevin couldn't say another word. The guards dragged him out of the pavilion. He was wearing nothing but a shabby set of pajamas. Abigail, please! His voice faded into the distance. The hallway was quiet again. Abigail never once glanced in the direction they had been taken. She turned to the hospital executives. Let's go to the conference room. Yes, Madam Chairwoman, the vice president replied. Abigail led the executives toward the top-floor elevator. The doors opened, and she stepped in first, the others following. David was the last to board. As the doors closed and the elevator ascended, the remaining nurses and onlookers began to whisper. So she's the new chairwoman. They said she was an orphan, but she was really from a rich family all along. She lived in hiding for 15 years. The nurses began to clean up the scattered papers on the floor. Peace returned to the hallway. That evening, after the storm had passed, Abigail stood in the chairwoman's office on the top floor of Grant Memorial, looking out over the city skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights twinkled below. A soft knock came at the door. Come in, Abigail said. The door opened, and David entered, holding a file and a USB drive. He placed them carefully on her desk. This is the data on Kevin's illegal loans, he said, pointing to the USB. Is everything here? Yes. 5 years of loan records, contact information for the loan sharks, and a complete transaction history. Thank you for your hard work, Abigail nodded. David then took another document from his briefcase. This is the court ruling from my father's loan guarantee case. Your father went through something similar? Yes, 15 years ago, David said, pointing to the document. My father lost his entire fortune after co-signing a loan for a friend. I was a law student at the time, but there was nothing I could do. Is that why you joined the risk management team? Yes. I wanted to help people who were facing the same situation. David nodded. I know the methods of people like Kevin all too well. From document forgery to loan fraud, we can prove every charge. You can trust me to handle this. I do, Abigail said. She walked from the window to her desk and began to look through the documents David had brought. She carefully read Kevin's loan history and examined the forged signatures. These documents will be sufficient. She organized the papers and pushed a cup of coffee toward David. Please, you've had a long day. Thank you, he said, accepting the cup. Now, we need to look at the hospital's reform plan, Abigail said, opening her briefcase and taking out a thick binder of blueprints. David spread out the materials he had prepared. They laid the plans out on the desk. First, we need to expand the legal and risk management team, David said, pointing to an org chart. The current staff of 4 is not enough to manage the entire foundation. How many do you need? A minimum of 8. Very well. Post the job openings, Abigail said, making a mark on the chart. We also need to establish a new financial audit team. It's essential for transparent foundation management. I agree, Abigail nodded. They continued their meeting for over an hour, mapping out a new organizational structure, identifying necessary departments, and reviewing budget proposals. At that same time, in a dingy motel on the outskirts of the city, Kevin and Brenda were huddled on the floor. This is all your fault, Brenda shrieked, pointing at Kevin. My fault? You were the one who insisted on being admitted to the VIP suite, he yelled back. When did I say that? Yesterday morning. You made the reservation yourself, Kevin said, shaking his phone. That's because I thought your wife was going to pay for it. No one thought Abigail would turn on us like that. After being so obedient for 15 years, Brenda pounded the floor. Kevin picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts, looking for the loan shark's numbers. He dialed the first one. The user you are calling is not accepting calls from you. Why isn't he answering? He muttered. He dialed the second number. The same message. This one too? He frantically dialed the third and fourth numbers. All of them were blocked. Why isn't anyone picking up? Call them and get some money, Brenda screamed. They're not answering. Kevin threw his phone against the wall. Brenda flopped onto her back. What has my life become? She wailed, flailing her arms. Just be quiet, Kevin screamed. He grabbed an empty liquor bottle from the corner of the room and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, sending glass flying. This is all Abigail's fault, he roared. Just then, his phone buzzed with an email notification from his bank. He picked it up and checked the screen. $80,000 has been withdrawn from your account. Current balance, $0. What? Kevin's eyes widened. A second email came through immediately. It was from his mistress. Sorry, I'm gone. I took all the money left in your account, so don't contact me. Kevin's hands started to shake. That bitch, he screamed. What is it? Brenda shot up. She took all my money and ran, he yelled, shaking the phone. What? All $80,000? That was the last of our money. I know. Kevin tore at his hair. He smashed the phone on the floor, cracking the screen. Arg! He started banging his head against the floor. Get a hold of yourself. This is no time to fall apart, Brenda cried, shaking him. The next morning at 8 a.m., David walked into the economic crimes unit of the local police precinct carrying a large box. How can I help you? An officer at a desk asked. I'm here to file a formal complaint, David said, placing the box on the desk. What's the case? Illegal lending and document forgery, David said, handing over the complaint file. The accused is Kevin. The officer took the file and began to read. Do you have supporting evidence? It's all in this box, David said, gesturing to it. 5 years of loan records, sworn statements from the loan sharks, and the original forged documents. Let me take a look. The officer opened the box and began to sort through the files. This is a substantial amount of evidence. It has been thoroughly investigated and organized, David replied. I also have an official letter of cooperation from our foundation. He handed over another document. The officer reviewed it, stamped it, and said, It's been officially received. We will contact you once the investigation begins. Thank you, David said, bowing his head. He left the precinct and sent a text to Abigail. Complaint officially filed. Investigation will now commence. A moment later, he received a reply. Excellent work. A few hours later, someone was pounding on the door of the motel room. Police! Open up! A man's voice called out. Kevin woke with a start. What? What? He mumbled, stumbling to his feet. Kevin? If you don't open the door, we'll open it for you. The voice was louder now. With a loud bang, the door was kicked open, and officers swarmed in. Are you Kevin? An officer asked. Yes, he stammered. You're under arrest for document forgery and fraud, the officer said, pulling out a pair of handcuffs. Wait, what is this about? Kevin backed away. Hands behind your back, the officer said, grabbing his arm. The handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists. What's happening? What did my son do? Brenda screamed. You can find out down at the station, an officer said, dragging Kevin away. Son! Kevin! She cried, chasing after them. A squad car was waiting outside. They pushed Kevin into the back seat. Mom! Mom! He yelled through the window. The door slammed shut, and the car sped off. Brenda collapsed onto the pavement. The motel owner came outside. Hey, you need to pay your bill. Is that really important right now? My son. Brenda sobbed. You're 3 days overdue, the owner said, holding out his hand. I don't have any money. Just wait a little longer. Wait? I've waited 3 days already. The owner went into the room and came out with Brenda's suitcase. I'm keeping this until you pay. He took it back inside. That's my suitcase. Give it back, Brenda cried, following him. You'll get it back when you pay me, he said, slamming the door. Brenda collapsed in front of the door, weeping. How did this happen? How? She cried. On a warm spring afternoon, Abigail sat on a park bench lined with cherry blossom trees. Petals drifted down in the breeze. She watched her daughter, Lily, riding her bike, her new school uniform bright in the sun. Lily stopped her bike and came back to the bench. Mom, water, she said, handing Abigail a bottle. Thank you, sweetie. Abigail took a handkerchief from her pocket and gently wiped the sweat from Lily's forehead. You look so lovely in your uniform, Lily. It's all thanks to you, Mom, Lily smiled brightly. High school will be a lot of work, you know? It's okay. This is what I've always wanted to do, Lily said, taking her mother's hand. Abigail's phone buzzed. It was an email from David with a schedule for her to give a witness statement at the police station. It was for that afternoon at 3 p.m. Lily, sweetie, Mommy has to go take care of something, Abigail said. Okay, Mom. I'll play here a little longer and then head home. All right. Be careful, and be home before it gets dark, Abigail said, giving Lily a hug and a kiss on her head. I'll be back soon. An hour later, Abigail arrived at the police precinct. An officer was waiting for her. Miss Abigail? Yes. This way, please. He led her to an interrogation room. Inside, Kevin sat in a gray jumpsuit, his hands cuffed. His head was down on the table. When Abigail entered, he looked up. Abigail, he shot up from his chair, fell to his knees, and clasped his hands together. Please, please forgive me, he begged, his voice cracking. Abigail stepped back, avoiding his touch. Stand up, she said coldly. Abigail, I was wrong. I was so wrong, he continued to kneel. I'm sorry for everything I put you through for 15 years. Abigail took a document from her bag and threw it on the table. Do you know what this is? She asked. Kevin looked at the paper. This is... His lips trembled. It's a forged document you tried to use to take out a loan in Lily's name, Abigail said. You tried to use your own 17-year-old daughter's identity. The man who stole money for her school uniform. What wouldn't you do? Her voice was filled with rage. That wasn't me, Kevin shook his head. Look at the signature. Isn't that your handwriting? Abigail pointed. Kevin saw the forged signature. It was his. I really... He couldn't speak. He buried his face in his hands and his shoulders shook. Do you think saying sorry now will make everything okay? Abigail asked. Outside in the lobby, Brenda was sitting on a bench. She had been sleeping at the precinct for days. Her clothes were filthy, her hair a mess. When the interrogation room door opened and Abigail walked out, Brenda spotted her and ran over. Abigail, she cried. Abigail stopped. Please, buy me a meal. I haven't eaten in 3 days, Brenda said, holding out a trembling hand. Get out of my way, Abigail said, trying to walk past her. Brenda grabbed the hem of her pants. Please, just one meal. Just one, she begged. Let go of me, Abigail said coldly. Abigail, I raised you for 15 years, Brenda wailed. You did, for 15 long years, Abigail said, yanking her hand free. Brenda stumbled back. Abigail took out her wallet, removed a single $100 bill, and dropped it on the floor at Brenda's feet. This is the last you'll ever get from me, Abigail said. Never contact me again. She turned her back. Brenda stared at the bill on the floor. She fell to her knees, and with a trembling hand, she picked it up. Abigail, she sobbed. Abigail didn't look back. A detective was waiting for her and led her into a consultation room. Are you willing to settle? The detective asked. No, Abigail said firmly. The accused is begging for forgiveness. I will not settle. So, no possibility of a plea bargain either? None. I want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The detective handed her a form. Abigail signed it without hesitation. She left the room and walked through the lobby. Brenda was still on the floor, clutching the $100 bill. How did it come to this? Why? She mumbled. Abigail walked out the revolving doors to where the black sedan was waiting. David held the door open for her. Madam Chairwoman. Let's go, Abigail said, getting into the car. As they drove away, Brenda's wails echoed through the precinct lobby. Inside the car, Abigail looked out the window, a new planner for the Grant Foundation on her lap. That must have been difficult, David said softly. No, it's all right. Abigail shook her head. In fact, I feel relieved. The 15 years I endured are finally over. A small smile touched her lips. You are a very strong person, Madam Chairwoman. I had to be. For Lily, Abigail said. Miss Lily is a very lucky girl. She has a wonderful mother. Thank you, David. 1 year later. The lobby of Grant Memorial Hospital was bustling. A large banner hung on the main wall. Grand opening. Pediatric Emergency and Critical Care Center. A section was cordoned off for the press, and rows of chairs were filled with hospital staff and journalists. At 10 a.m., Abigail walked onto the stage in a navy blue suit. Camera shutters clicked, and flashes went off. Good morning. I am Abigail Grant, chairwoman of the Grant Foundation, she began. Applause filled the room. Over the past year, the Grant Foundation has undergone many changes. She gestured to a large screen behind her. We have reinvested all foundation profits back into essential medical facilities, expanding the pediatric ER, upgrading critical care equipment, and improving compensation for our medical staff. The result is the center we are opening today. The crowd applauded again. This center will provide 2 4-hour emergency care for children, equipped with state-of-the-art technology. Children from low-income families will receive treatment free of charge. The Grant Foundation will continue to be a hospital that contributes to society and ensures that sick children receive the timely care they deserve. Thank you. Abigail bowed deeply, and the room erupted into a standing ovation. In the front row, David, now with board member on his name tag, stood and clapped, sending out a press release with detailed data to the media from his tablet. In a provincial prison workshop, inmates were at work. Kevin, with a prisoner number on his chest, was carrying a heavy box of parts. Hey, get a move on, a guard yelled. A news report was playing on a TV mounted to the wall. Grant Foundation Chairwoman Abigail Grant opens new pediatric center. Abigail's face appeared on screen, giving her speech. Kevin's hands froze. He dropped the box. Hey, what are you doing? The guard barked, prodding him with a baton. Sorry, Kevin mumbled, picking up the box. He returned to his workstation, his head down, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. In a subway tunnel in the city, Brenda sat on a pile of cardboard in a tattered coat, eating from a disposable container she'd gotten from a soup kitchen. A discarded newspaper lay beside her. The front page had a large photo of Abigail giving her speech. The headline read, "The Grant Foundation leads social contribution with transparent management." Brenda looked away from the paper and shoved it with her foot, wrinkling Abigail's picture. After the ceremony, Lily, in her school uniform, stood in a corner of the lobby holding a large bouquet of flowers. When she saw her mother, she ran over. "Mom! Lily!" Abigail opened her arms. "Congratulations, Mom," Lily said, handing her the flowers. "Thank you, sweetie." Abigail hugged her daughter tightly. David walked up behind them. "Madam Chairwoman, an excellent speech. Thank you, David. And you too, board member." Abigail smiled, extending her hand. They shook. "Hello, Miss Lily," David said brightly. "Hi, Mr. Miller," Lily replied, giving him a high five. The three of them walked toward the main entrance, their shadows stretching long across the marble floor in the late afternoon sun. The automatic doors slid open, and they stepped outside into a warm spring breeze. A cherry blossom petal landed on Abigail's shoulder. Lily gently picked it off. "Look, Mom, a petal," she said, holding it in her palm. "It's beautiful," Abigail smiled. They continued toward the parking lot, the sun at their backs. Abigail held the bouquet, Lily held her mother's hand, and David walked beside them, a briefcase in his hand. It was a new beginning. After 15 years of living in the shadows, Abigail had finally found her place, not as the wife of a useless husband and the daughter-in-law of a greedy tyrant, but as the confident chairwoman of the Grant Foundation. The painful times were not wasted. They had forged her into the strong, capable woman she was today, ready to build a new future with her daughter and her trusted colleague by her side.